Hello and welcome. UFC 323, the last pay per view of 2025 and the second to last card of the year. I was just discussing with Jose before going live here that there's only two fights left this year, and we're going to get 5 straight Saturdays without UFC fights here at the end of December and the beginning of January. So enjoy this card. And next week is just going to be an Apex card, fight night in Vegas. So don't expect that to come with anything too crazy. This pay per view is really kind of the finale of the year as far as that's concerned. Of course, it's headlined by Merab defending his belt against Piotr Yan. This is the second time those guys have fought. And then the co-main event is another belt fight in which Pantoja is fighting Josh Van. So that'll also be interesting. Josh Van's an up-and-comer in this weight class. And Pantoja's kind of defended his belt now like 4 or 5 times, I want to say. So either way, as a quick recap for fights that occurred, it wasn't last week, but it was the week before because we had a Thanksgiving break. But Sarukian finished Dan Hooker via arm triangle. This was in Qatar, so this is overseas. Sarukian got the finish as Jose and I both predicted. Very happy I moved Bilal down to my one weight. He ended up kind of getting dusted by Ian Gary. Oralbai finishing Hermanson. Ozedmir finishing Menefield. That was another good pick that Jose and I both picked on, was Ozedmir. So it's good to see him getting some work done. And that said, let's get into our picks for UFC 323. For anyone new here, we make our picks in a 5-weight system in which we pick all of 5 of all of the currently scheduled fights for UFC 323, and we weigh them in order of confidence, with 5-weight being the most confident, 1-weight being the least confident, and we just confer. These picks are made separately. We just confer before the show to know what order we're going to go in, because we always start with the locks of the week first. And that said, my lock of the week for Saturday afternoon in Las Vegas. Our last 2 cards are going to be in Vegas. I'm going to take a third 5-weight in a row in the main event. I've got to take Merab here. It feels almost like a given. It almost feels like I'm cheating in a sense, but it's still it's a 1v1 fight against 2 of the best guys in the world at what they do. But it's Merab. Merab's already been there and done that against Piotr Yan. At the time, he wasn't a champ, but he pretty well handed Piotr Yan a loss, and I thought out wrestled Piotr Yan. And it's one of those things where Jan's going to have to kind of handedly outstrike Merab, and I just don't see that happening. I don't think I need to really go on a long tirade about what Merab brings to the table. And Piotr Yan is just a light version of it, I feel like. Merab's going to be able to go for 25 straight minutes. Piotr Yan, I question after, the first 15 minutes. So, yeah, that said, it's one of those spots where Merab doesn't want to move up, so he's just fighting guys that he's already beat. And I just think it's just going to continue to be a walk in the park, for the lack of a better term. So what do you think, Jose?
Yeah, Nick, I 100% agree with you on this. I have Marab as well. He's my 3-weight. And as you mentioned, like, I don't think this fight's going to go much different than it was the first time. I see Marab winning again via unanimous decision. Marab's proven to be a dominant champion. He's gone against the best of the best. He's already beaten Peter Yan before, and he's gone against high-level wrestlers like Henry Cejudo and Nurmagomedov, and he's also gone against high-level strikers with power like Sean O'Malley and Corey Sandhagen, and he's just proven to do the same thing every time. He's a good striker as well. He can hang with them on the feet, and if not, he's going to just take them down. And most of the time, he's just going to look for that takedown and hold them down. And overall, he's just a smart fighter. He's just getting the control time and getting points and riding to unanimous decision. And if there's an opportunity for him to finish that fight, he will, but he doesn't force it. The most recent finish he has is just that submission over Sean O'Malley in their second meeting. But other than that, yeah, he's a very smart fighter, and he's just extremely well-rounded. I have Merab as my 3-weight.
Yeah, man. So it's one. Yeah, it's Merab. Honestly, it's one of those things you just don't overthink it right now. He's in his prime. He's still only 34 years old. he's going to have a few more years where he's the alpha in this class. And if he doesn't want to move up, I mean, it's going to be a Volkanovski-like run for him. He's going to be looked at one of the best in all time. So I'd say let's go to Jose's 5-weight.
So for my 5-weight, this fight is the second title fight between Alexander Pantoja and Josh Van. Right now, Pantoja, he is the. Sorry, my thing keeps moving. Right now, I'm seeing as a minus. You may see something different, but I'm just going off the UFC website. He's a minus 238 favorite, while Josh Van is a plus 195. So this is not through FanDuel, but I'm seeing off the UFC website. And yeah, Pantoja, big favorite. He's my 5-weight because, you know, similar to Merab, I just think he's just a truly dominant champion. We've seen him already defend the title multiple times, and he's being the top contenders of the division with Kai Kara-France, Asakura, Usyk, Royval, and he even beat Brandon Moreno back in the, to get a split decision. So that being said, yeah, he's just an extreme he's, in my opinion, he's a dominant champion. I actually do think maybe if he were to move up, he could put up a good fight at the next weight class. But yeah, he's a good striker compared to Josh Van. Josh Van has been in the UFC nearly as long, but you know he's just had a fast upcoming in the UFC, just going through the ranks and just looking extremely dominant. And on the feet, Alexander Pantoja, he's more of a grappler. He's more likely going to try to look to get the takedown at some point. But he's not the fastest striker, but he can hang in there. You know, he's already gone as well himself with top level strikers like Asakura and Usyk. So he lands 4.36 significant strikes per minute, and he absorbs 3.88. And so he in my opinion, he's another well-rounded fighter, just like Merab. And he has a 2-inch reach advantage over Josh Van, and just the experience as well. 30-5 versus Josh Van's 15-2. I'm just going over I'm just ultimately picking the guy that I truly think is better and has a lot more experience, especially at this level in the game. Josh Van is good. I just think, just like some of the dudes like Usyk, I think maybe they're just pushing him a little too quick just because how he's looked his last couple of fights. But I think, it's really hard to assess Josh Van this early in his career. I want to see him rack up more wins against top level contenders. So that being said, yeah, I'm feeling strong on Alexander Pantoja. He is my 5-weight. Nick, what are your thoughts on this one?
We'll agree and we'll flip flop. I got a 3-weight on Alexander Pantoja, the champ, and he's a guy that I've been riding. I've pretty much picked him. We've been following him for years now. But even back when him and Brandon Moreno did their thing, I remember Moreno was favored, and I was like, no, Pantoja's got this, and it was still close, split decision. But I feel like I understand Pantoja pretty well and what he's going to bring to the table. And you bring up some of his more recent wins against Asakura and Kai Kara-France, and that's basically the penultimate reasons why I'm taking Pantoja to win this. He's gone in there against other guys like Van. Basically, to me, is a KO boxing threat, and Pantoja's shown he's already been able to do it, submitting Asakura, submitting Kara-France. I feel like that alone just shows that Pantoja can handle other strong boxers, powerful boxers, and in the end, Josh Van, to me, poses less of a threat than someone like Kai Kara-France in the knockout department. So, I don't know. Josh Van, to me, doesn't bring anything to the table that Pantoja's not already handled in the past. So, I would expect Pantoja to handle this again. 3-weight confidence.
So this is another one back-to-back. So we got most likely 2 locks of the weeks, both tied with Merab and Alexander Pantoja.
That'd be funny if our 4 weights matched, because then we'd have 3 locks of the week tied. But obviously that'll be next. My 4-weight, we'll see if they end up matching. But for now, like Jose said, locks of the week, just combine 8 weights there. For my 4-weight, I'm going to be going against Henry Cejudo. I'm going to be sticking in the main event, I think, for all of my picks tonight. But I'm going against Henry Cejudo here. I'm going to be picking Peyton Talbot to win against or even potentially finish Henry Cejudo. This is almost kind of an opposite of where I'm going, saying that I think Pantoja is going to beat Josh Van, because it's almost a similar situation but in reverse in a sense, because obviously Henry Cejudo brings a heavy wrestling background, but he in the UFC at least, Henry Cejudo hasn't really, he's wrestled a little bit, but it's been more of like a consistent striking game. He averages under 2 takedowns per 15 minutes, that's for sure. So he lands takedowns, but it's really not that significant. And I could see him trying to stand with Peyton Talbot and not immediately go in for a takedown, which to me is what he has to do to win this fight. He's just too old at this point, too experienced. I realize that he's lost to high level fighters, but Talbot I think has proven that he can be a high level fighter himself. So that said, I'm going to take the bait here. Talbot puts out so much volume and has a lot of KO potential there, and I would expect him to win by decision here, 29-28, 30-27 kind of thing against Henry Cejudo. I like the size advantage. And I think the only thing Cejudo really technically has is experience. But even then, because of his whole Olympics background or whatever, he only has 21 professional MMA fights. So it's not like he's worlds ahead. He just has a lot of championship experience. When in the end, this is only a 15-minute fight. So give me Talbot. What do you think, Jose?
Yeah, so for this one, Nick, I somewhat agree with you, but I am going to go the other way, and I'm going to go with Henry Cejudo. Reason being is that this is another one I am going over the experience. I do think Talbot is really good. I'm afraid that maybe they are pushing him a little too soon, but I do think he has a major size advantage over Henry Cejudo, just overall taller, has the longer reach, and dude, he's also got power in his punches and throws a high volume of punches compared to Henry Cejudo. With Henry Cejudo, you know what you're going to get. It's going to be the wrestling. But that's the thing. Like Henry Cejudo's already coming off three losses in a row, and if he can actually close the gap and take Payne Talbot down, I think he's going to ultimately win this fight for sure. I think he still has something left in him, but if Payne Talbot can defend the takedown, honestly, this fight could look similar to like Sean Brady and Michael Morales, how that happened most recently. Brady could not, the key to victory for Brady was going to be trying to take Morales down, and Morales did a great job utilizing his reach advantage to just keep Sean Brady at bay. And I can see Payne Talbot doing something like that. And then when you're that much bigger and you have a reach advantage and a striking advantage as well, you just stay at bay and start piecing them up. So that's why I have Henry Cejudo as my one way. I still have a little faith in him, and I still think he can probably pull out the win just based off experience, because Payne Talbot won't be the first guy that he's faced that's been taller with a longer reach. But yeah, he just things have not been going Henry Cejudo's way. If he loses a fourth time in a row, I do think he should just hang it up for good. But that being said, yeah, this one I'm going with Henry Cejudo. He's my least confident pick as my one weight.
Okay, so our first disagreement of this Saturday. I'm pretty confident full weight in Talbot. Jose, little less confident, but sees a potential in Cejudo there to turn around his 3-loss skid. For me, I think Talbot is going to be able to continue Henry Cejudo's skid, and I was honestly surprised Cejudo hasn't already retired by now, but I guess he needs the paychecks. But in any case, let's go to Jose's 4-weight.
So for my 4-weight, this is actually the main event of the prelims, the lightweight bout between Grant Dawson and Manny Torres. Right now, Grant Dawson, he is the favorite at -205, while Manny Torres is the betting underdog at +170. This one, I'm going with the underdog in Manny Torres. I think he's an exciting fighter, very explosive. Fights don't last long. Most of his fights end pretty early in the first round. And even that Bahamundas fight, that was one where he was really, tested. He got ended in the first round. That was an exciting fight still. But he's just an explosive fighter. Comes in and is just that's what you're gonna get out of him. You're gonna get an explosive fighter who's gonna come in. He has phenomenal striking, and versus Grant Dawson. Grant Dawson, he's more of a well-rounded fighter. I think the thing is like we haven't seen enough out of Manny yet because how fast he is, but I don't think we need to see more because like I said, we're gonna see what we're gonna get. And with Grant Dawson, he's right now on a 3-fight losing streak. The last loss he has it was to Kevin Green, to King Green, I should say, and he got knocked down the first round by King Green. That's an old that's an old aged King Green, right? Pretty much out of his prime, and he still got knocked out by him because King Green put the pressure on heavy and came forward early on in the fight and was able to put Grant Dawson out. And maybe Grant Dawson wasn't expecting it, but that's what King Green did at his age to be able to finish Grant Dawson. Manny Torres is going to do that as well, but he's younger and just better at doing that. So I think like it's gonna like if King Green was able to do it, I feel very confident that Manny Torres will do it as well. Grant Dawson in general, like he's a phenomenal striker, but he's better at the grappling department. So if he avoids getting knocked out, I do think that he is going to go wrestling heavy and try to tangle Manny Torres up, hold him against the cage. On average, Grant Dawson he has an average of a 3.87 takedown per 15 minutes. And but Manny Torres has an 88% takedown defense. So if Grant Dawson can't take Manny Torres out, you just know Manny Torres is going to be spamming a lot. He's just going to be going hard and throwing everything he can at Grant Dawson. Like Manny Torres, just again, he's going to just exhaust a lot of striking, a lot of kicks, everything. Just be explosive and be in Grant Dawson's face. And I think he's going to overwhelm Grant Dawson at some point early on in the fight. So that being said, I'm going with Manny Torres. I have him winning this by KO/TKO as he normally does. So that being said, yep, this one I got Manny Torres. Nick, do you have any thoughts on this one?
I don't have an official weight, mainly just because I'm just not as confident as you, but I would agree in Torres if I was to make a pick here. I like what I see out of Torres. I remember Noche UFC and Ignacio. I think I picked Manny to win that fight. Ignacio kind of had a big night, and Ignacio is looking like a stud himself. And Torres has otherwise looked really good, finishing most of his opponents. I think everybody actually in the UFC. So with this one, I'm in agreement here. I think he has a good chance to step in and finish Grant Dawson like King Green did. But in the same token, Grant Dawson's on his own little streak too. So you're gonna have to stop someone that's kind of hot lately. So I just kind of left that one off my board. Just overall less confidence. But I would lean Manny Torres.
Sounds good. So yeah, that's he's probably the biggest underdog I'm picking tonight, if not maybe the only underdog. No, Henry Cejudo also an underdog. Henry Cejudo may actually be a bigger underdog, but I'm going with he's a bigger underdog. So I'm riding with some underdogs this week.
For my 2-weight, I'm gonna go to a light heavyweight bout that's opening the main card. I'm going to take Bogdan Guskov to beat Jan Blachowicz. For me, this one is I'm going to take the bait again, I guess, for the lack of a better term, on a guy who with a little less experience. Now, he still has 21 professional MMA fights under his belt, but in the UFC specifically, he's only got 5. He's 4-1 so far, and all of those fights were finishes, all 5, even his loss to Volkan Ozdemir, who's lately looked really good too. Blachowicz obviously has the experience end of things, having fought for the belt before. He was a champ at a time, and actually was the one that fought Izzy when Izzy moved up. So he defended his belt against a middleweight, and then lost it to Glover, and since then hasn't been able to reclaim it. And to me, Jan is just a little bit too old at this point. He's a little too slow. He's lost 2 fights in a row now after that stupid draw to Magomed that made Dana mad, and it made everybody that was watching it mad because it was a boring fight for a belt. And to me, Guskov is going to come in with a little more freshness. He takes a little more damage to give a little more damage, and I think he's got a chance to finish Jan in this fight. So with that said, it is only my 2-weight. I realize Jan is a stud, and Bogdan's actually an underdog here, which is another reason I like it. Bogdan's plus 112, Jan's minus 142. So I like the value, to me, you're getting out of a younger kid who should be faster than Jan. And I don't think Jan's going to be able to come in there and do much wrestling, nor does he really try to wrestle much anyways, with only 1 takedown landed per 3-round fight. So that said, 2-weight for me and Bogdan. What do you think, Jose?
Yeah, so this one I do not have a pick, but I agree with you on your choice with Bogdan. He is I think surprisingly the underdog, but that being said, like he's looked phenomenal. And Jan's not been. This is like the most active he's been in a while, fighting for the second time this year. And just fights have not been going his way. And he's not even looked. He did get that split decision versus Alex Pereira, which is really good. And he also got one against Magomed, but he's still, he lost most recently earlier in the year unanimous to Carlos Ulberg. And I just think, he's just aging. Like he's just getting older, and I just I don't know. Like as now he's getting older, and he's been on a couple. He hasn't won in a while since 2022. It's just hard for me to really side with him, and Bogdan's been looking pretty good. So I have no pick on it, but I do agree with you on this pick.
Sounds good. Well, then in that case, I think we have one more pick. Both of us have a weight on this pick, and this will be the last one of the afternoon. I'll let you take it away.
Yes, sir. So this fight is the flyweight bout between Brandon Moreno and Tatsuro Taira. Right now, Brandon Moreno is a slight underdog at minus 102, while Tatsuro Taira is the betting favorite at minus 118. This one, I'm going with the slight underdog, Brandon Moreno. Reason is he's still so good. Like I still think he's good. He's won two in a row. He did lose, and then he lost. He lost three. He lost to Roy Val back in 2024. But other than that, like Brandon Moreno's been hanging with the top dogs for a while now. He's beat almost everyone in the top five. He's a very good, well-rounded fighter. He has a chin. Surprisingly, I don't know. Like when you look at him, I feel like he just wouldn't have a chin, but he's got a phenomenal chin, hard to put out. He's got phenomenal wrestling and jiu-jitsu, and he's also got phenomenal striking. A very good, well-rounded fighter. Tatsuro Taira too is another guy that I think it could be his equal match. Like he's just also another well-rounded fighter. That's why Brandon Moreno is my two-way, because Tatsuro Taira has phenomenal wrestling. He's got phenomenal striking, and at the end of the day, this one is, again, when it comes down to when it's a close call, I'm gonna look at who's got the more experience, and especially at a high level, and it's Brandon Moreno on this one. He's meeting someone that can match his wrestling, his jiu-jitsu, and his striking. So now at this, it's like he's just proven to be a top dog. Like he's hung at the top for a long time. He's a former champ, and he's just proven time and time again he's not easy to put out, and he just comes back like those fights he had with Alexander Pantoja. There was times like, how is he not out now? And then he still stays in it and finds a way to win. So, or finds a way to like not get put out. Just you name it. Like he keeps coming back. He's legit got that dog in him, and I haven't really seen that yet out of Tatsuro Taira. I think Tatsuro Taira is going to be a little more tested by Brandon Moreno, and so I'm going to be interested to see how this one goes. I think Brandon Moreno is going to win this most likely by decision. I don't see him putting out Tatsuro Taira though. So that being said, I'm going with the former champ Brandon Moreno on this one as my two-weight. Very low confidence, just because, yeah, the matchup in this one is a tough one for him. So that being said, yep, I got Brandon Moreno as my two-weight. Nick, what are your thoughts on this one?
Man, this one, dude. So obviously, process of elimination, right? It's a one-weight pick for me. I was kind of going back and forth, man, and I wanted to make a pick on this fight because it's so good. And as much as I love Brandon Moreno, I went with Taira on my pick officially. So we will disagree. My one weight on Taira, who I believe is the underdog. No, he's actually the favorite, minus 140. Moreno plus 110. And I agree, though, that I think this is almost guaranteed to go to decision. It sounds like that's one of the things we for sure agree on. Over 2.5 is the way to go, or either, double winning chance, either of these guys by decision or points. I think Taira is for sure going to see his biggest test, but he has been in there against some other dogs, like Brandon Royval. Went 25 minutes with Brandon Royval and lost by split decision, got a fight of the night bonus. His last fight, he won with, in the second round, and it wasn't, it was actually another 5-round fight to be scheduled. So he's had 2 5-round fights back to back now. He's going back to a 3-round fight to fight a better opponent. So in my opinion, although yes, Moreno is probably the stiffest test he's had, it's not like a super step up, because Brandon Royval is one of the best in the division too. And we can say that because Brandon Royval also beat Brandon Moreno by split decision. So it's one of those things that I think Taira's seen what it takes to be at that level, and he's going to continue to get better. I have a little bit more confidence in that, just given his age. So, although I love Brandon Moreno, and that's why Tyra's only my one weight, I still think he can get the job done via decision.
Yeah, so this one's another one we're going to disagree on, but we both have low confidence in our picks. It's definitely going to be a tightly contested one. And yeah, we both agree. Yeah, this will most likely go to decisions. So this is just another one we disagree on, but kind of view similar outcomes.
Awesome. So that was six picks for you guys then, outside of our normal. Actually, yeah, six. So outside of our normal five, but either way, this will be the last pay per view. As I said at the beginning of the show, make sure to tune in next week. Monday will actually be our last show of 2025, and then we'll have quite a lengthy break there until the middle of January. We'll start in January with a pay per view. We'll get Gaethje versus Pimblett, which I don't know. I get that the belt was vacated technically or whatever, but Pimblett, really? Sarukian must be seething. I don't understand, but whatever, I guess. We'll be around to discuss that card, of course, early 2026. And interestingly enough, that's going to be right when when the UFC transitions to Paramount. So I'm really curious how that goes. And I'm assuming if you have a Paramount subscription, you'll still have to pay extra for a pay per view. But that'd be pretty cool that if you had Paramount Plus, you get the fights and you don't have to pay extra. But knowing the UFC, how else are they going to make money, right? They got to make money. But either way, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week, and have a good week for one more show.